Well, hello everyone. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator out of Flower Mound, Texas, and today I'm going to share my third alternative video with you using the March Paper Pumpkin Kit for 2025, and today is March 30th of 2025, and at the end of this video I'm going to go over the new Paper Pumpkin accounts, how they have switched over to Stampin' Up! And how to make sure yours is set up right. So if you haven't done that yet, stick to the end of this video and I will share that then. But first I want to get my alternatives done in case you have already done that successfully. But there is some additional information I can share as far as managing your Paper Pumpkin kit that I was glad to learn from Stampin' Up! Support. So I think I fully understand it now. I've sent an email out to my subscribers giving the steps to do it, but sometimes it helps to see some visuals. So I'll share some screenshots that I have of doing that. All right, also before we begin, a big thank you to each one of my subscribers. We did reach 4,500. So you may not know, my ultimate goal this year is 5,000. So I try to say, let's reach the next 100. I always set a short-term goal. So if you are new to my channel or have yet to subscribe, I would be so thankful for your subscription to help me reach 4,600. All right, so let me switch to hands down and I can share at least the upcoming Paper Pumpkin kit. Okay, here is the flyer I have for the upcoming kit, which will be April. So right now we are in the subscription period for the April kit. It runs from March 11th through April 10th, and it's going to have some beautiful colors. I love all the colors in that. It is a card kit. Coordinating colors are Berry Burst, which that's going to be the Stampin' Spot, Flirty Flamingo, Fresh Freesia, Gorgeous Grape, Peach Pie, and Pool Party. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a beautiful kit. So as I said, stick to the end to make sure you are subscribed for this kit. Also, for this quarter and any of your other paper crafting needs are the add-on dies, item number 166238. Now I'm just about to place my order for these. I'm sorry I haven't already done so, but when I close out my March host code, I'm going to go ahead and order these. So like I said, I do have a host code that's going to expire tomorrow, March 31st. So if you do not have a demonstrator or would care to support me, if you place an order of $75 or less, if you can use this host code, I would be so thankful. Also, remember, a new catalog is coming. I received this at OnStage, so you can see some sneak peeks, but that's all I can show you is the cover of some new merchandise. They did do a better job of redoing the physical catalog, so that's good to know. But also there are so many other products other than just the catalog. Now we have online exclusives and the kit, the regular kit collection, those aren't in the catalog. So don't just think these are all our products. Always check online for new stuff. All right. And ending soon will be the mini catalog. Now I assume in April the last chance products will come out for this. And also remember, some things that are bundles, if they carry over, they may only carry over individually, so you'll lose that bundle saving. So if those are on your list, you may want to grab those up while you can save an additional 10%. All right, let me set this aside. Okay, and we're going to get started on the March Paper Pumpkin Kit. So if you've missed my first two alternative videos, at the end of this video, I'll share a little link to the first one, and then that one should link to the second one, and so on. Now, you guys are used to me losing stuff, and I've done it enough that I found this little bucket in my craft room. So I have put my goodies in here so that I can set them there when we're working, and hopefully I won't lose any. So let's see how that works for me. I know I get a giggle out of myself, and some of you comment kindly and know that you know how that feels. So I'm going to store this in my sleeve, which is one of my favorite things. I have several of you ask about this. So all of these are my favorite things. This one, as you can see, well, I didn't stick it in there well. Store's paper pumpkin gets quite thin. So I love using these to store rather than the box. It saves me a lot of space. And then I have these 5x7 ones that I store my card components in. And this is going to be the first one that I do. All right, so we're going to need a thick white card base. All right, an emboss layer. You guys know I love white emboss layers. And this one uses the 3D plaid. Now, hopefully I have stuck everything over here so I can share. This is one of my favorites, and as you can see, it's a large embossing pad. So the item number for this is 164049. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to share a couple ones with that today. Now this one uses the blue card base. Okay, so all I did was cut it in half, and then I've cut some 1-inch strips. Okay, so we're going to have 3. You can get 4, you can get 5 from one side. So you'd have a total of 10, but you can do 3 with one card base, I guess is what I'm trying to tell you. So you'll use 9, and then the 10th one we can use, and the leftover we can use for sentiments, which I'll show you that as we get going. Okay, and then I have some Spotlight on Nature, not of nature, dies, and these you have seen me use many times. All right, it's right here. Item number for this is 163580, and this time I used the little stitchery one. The one I already have finished uses another one the exact same size, so I could show you how both might look. I have 2 here in case I mess up. You don't need, well, if you're going to do multiple cards of this, you'll be fine. So let me get out my Stampin' Pierce mat because we're going to decorate this up a little bit. It needs a little something when I was making this card, and I thought I'm just going to stamp it with our little honeycomb stamp. Okay, and I'm going to use Lost Lagoon. I do find it interesting that Lost Lagoon was a color. This does work nicely with the tone, but you know, hopefully you guys had a yellow to color the center of your daisy. So I'm just going to start with these and randomly put some honeycombs on here, turning my stamp, working my way down the side. I missed that one, so I'll stick that in the center so that it covers that. I'm going to try not to work too fast, but I do have 3 cards to share with you today, and then the paper pumpkin information. So hopefully this doesn't go too long. All right, there's one. I guess I could have done one ahead of time, so you don't have to sit here and watch me stamp all 3. But I do like this little honeycomb stamp. I think it's kind of nice that we have that. You could stamp this in Versamark and then emboss it and have gold. That would be pretty. But we're just going to stick with the Lost Lagoon. One last strip to do. Yeah, I find it funny that I think it's this puppy paper that's so busy, and I should have switched it out, but it already had my host code strip on there, and that's getting ready to end. So I said, you know what, I'm going to stick it through and maybe switch it out to just blank paper next time, because I think it's the puppies that I'm seeing in the background, and it makes me not see my stuff. Okay, so that is random stamping of the honeycomb stamp, and I do have my little chamois wet over here. This is just 1/4 of a chamois. I cut it in half, and then one of the halves I cut in half again, so I didn't have to have this big flopping thing in my way. All right, so we can get rid of this. All right, and then we're going to adhere this to our emboss piece. Now this was the one I missed, so I'm going to stick it in the middle. So what I like to use is one of my favorite things is this tea ruler. Now, I think I need to clean it. It's kind of icky. But I'm going to use my grid sheet here. And I know that 8 is going to be the center. It sticks just about 1/8 of an inch off of the 6 and the 10. Obviously, you could move this to 0, but I'm sticking it there for me. And so 8 down here at the bottom is my center. All right, and then I know these are 1/2 inch strips, so I'm going to subtract, they're 1 inch strips. I'm going to subtract 1/2 an inch, so that should put this strip in the center of my emboss layer. Now obviously you could eye that, but I thought I would share that with you in case you are a perfectionist and want to get things straight. And what sometimes I do this and I end up moving it anyway because it didn't look right to me, but hopefully this will at least get the center one straight, and then we can go from there with that one. So I'm just going to eye top and bottom, and I'm going to stick that down. And before it sticks, I'm going to remove this and make sure it does look right to me. All right, so I just kind of centered that up and down to my eye. All right, so then we have these other ones. Now, if you want to get those straight with that, I go from the end of this, and I'm just going to leave like 1/4 of an inch. Maybe, let's do, no, I think I like that right there. All right, that is 1/4 of an inch more than where that one ended. So let me get out my Tombow multi-purpose glue. And this way I can get my panel straight. You know what, I'm going to turn this one like this because I kind of miss them up there. Okay, and then remove that real quick and see if you have it lined up. You could turn it this way and whoop, press that up to where that one is while it's still wet. Okay, and let me put this back, and we're going to do the other side. See, and that looks crooked to me. I don't know if it's the plaid or what. Did I not get enough glue on there? Maybe it moved a little when I turned it on its side. All right, let me go ahead and get multi-purpose liquid glue on this one. All right, and then we're going to go 7.5. Get it on the actual layered piece. And then we're going to go 1/4 of an inch. Actually, I need to scoot that over. We're going to go 1/4 of an inch that way. And I almost got my hand in the glue. All right, so let's put that down. Before it dries, take this away, and I'm just going to scoot that one up to match, and that's pretty darn close. All right, so that's just showing you how you can use that tea ruler to get your things straight-ish. Like I said, I always end up moving it. I don't know why to my eye it doesn't look right. All right, so now we're going to use these, and I wanted to give these a little bit of color. So I need another scrap piece of paper. All right, and I'm going to use Lost Lagoon. Now, I have previously dabbed my spot on here. You can see it's kind of a square, but it might be kind of dry. So I'm going to just give it a mist from high away and not over this to kind of wetten it up a little bit. Not to do like watercolor, but it's been sitting there a while and it's going to be dry. And then I need my blending brush, which I guess I should have put that in my little cup because it was right here. Here it is. It's just under my adhesive. All right, so let's blend this out, and hopefully that didn't get it too thin. If it does, we'll adjust. But I'm just gonna, like I said, just set it down, no pressure, and swirl out. Now it didn't do real great. It could have been because I did water. Let's do this other one. Let me get a paper towel and just make sure that's not wet. And let's do that again with my spot. hopefully this one will do better. All right, so I like to blend it out on my block. All right, I did 2 in case I didn't like that one. This is doing better. I can see the colors barely coming out, so I can apply a little more pressure. I'm missing the center there. All right, and that's good. Just a little wash of color. So doing water did not work. That one will see the trash. All right, you learn something every time with me because I try different things. All right, so that's going to go there. I know it does not look the best, but it's going to get covered up mostly anyway. So we're going to decorate this circle with some daisies. Now like I said, I stuck them in my little bucket. I've pre-stamped them and pre-colored them. I don't think I have a, excuse me, a full one, but that'll be okay. We'll just use the individual ones. So I used my scan and cut to make these where it cuts off just the leaves. So you might want to check that out. Now I wish I had one with the leaves. We may have to make one, which that'll be okay because I have a whole little sleeve of pre-cut stuff in case I miss something. So bear with me here while I find one with just the leaves. Okay, well, wouldn't you know, there's not one in there. I was playing with the color. So I'm going to do what I almost was going to do. Let me grab this for you. So I use the Thankful Garden bundle, and in there is a leaf. Okay, it looks like this. It goes there. And I was thinking of doing this, but I was trying to use just stuff. If I had the new quarter add-on dies, I would have used that leaf. So I have cut that with Lost Lagoon cardstock just to match the colors in there. All right, so this is Thankful Garden, and it is one of those, well, that's the wrong masks. But it also has masks, so you can color these beautiful flowers, and I'm hoping to work with that soon. So maybe I'll share some ideas with it in between paper pumpkin kits. All right, so we're going to use this leaf, and my finished one, it'll show you I used the stamp with the leaves, but that'll just give us some greenery behind there. And then, so let's adhere this down to here. Now this leaf, since it has some little embossed pieces, I think liquid glue would seep through. So I'm going to use glue dots for that. I'm almost finished with a sheet. There's my take your pick tool. That's the back. And so I'm just going to put a few glue dots on here. And I just go through glue dot sheets from past paper pumpkin kits, and then I start with another one. So that one's good and trash. And I think 3 is going to be enough because the flowers are going to go on top of this leaf. Now with the add-on die new quarter leaf, you probably want to do at least 2 or 3. Now I'm going to kind of do it that way because I'm going to hopefully have room for a sentiment there. And then we can start adding our flowers. Now, do you see this flower? I tried to give it like some gray, like the ones in the kit. But since the other ones don't have that, I'm going to dig in my little bucket over here and find one that's just white. Well, hopefully there's one. I found this in there. I don't know what that's from. It must have been from a previous kit, but I really like that little daisy. All right, we'll use that other stuff in a minute on our other alternatives. So I'm just going to bend up my flower leaves. You can do that with a bone folder or your hands like I did. It's hard to talk and glue things. It doesn't seem hard. I can't remember if I shared this, but my husband and I went to a little marriage conference, I guess you can call it. It was just at our church. It wasn't a long thing, and it said, name one thing that your spouse does that you would not like to do. And of course he said, make my wife's videos. So anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. I said, really? All right, so there is our leaf bundle collection, and we're going to put some ribbon behind here. Now, I happen to have some Daffodil Delight ribbon. Now, this was on the clearance rack not too long ago, so maybe you picked it up. But I also want to share, you know, I have a hard time getting it under there like I like it. So I use my ribbon saving technique, and then I can tape it down where I want it for sure. So I'm just going to make sure I have a good enough bend there. All right, so I'm saying all right again. I need to get out of that habit. So I'm going to put it behind there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make those my tails. It's kind of big. Let's do that again. All right, let me get my tear and tape. And then I'm going to put this where I like it behind my circle. And then when I get it like I like it, I'm going to use this tear and tape and hold it down. Okay, I'm not going to take off the backing because I'm initially going to put this up on dimensionals. And I didn't like that one. Let's take him off the tape. Fix him a little better. The angle. All right, and then press it down. I like that. Then we can use these tails and see how I cheat. And we're going to adhere that down. I actually didn't save much ribbon. I cut those kind of long, but at least I can put it down where I want it and it's going to stay. And you can see you can kind of follow your ribbon from the back. And I wanted that shorter, sticking out. And then let's do this one. And that has the flagged in on it. And I do my flags where they're both coming in like that. Okay, so those aren't going anywhere, and I got them where I want them. All right, so let's put dimensionals on here. You know, white ribbon or anything, Lost Lagoon ribbon would look good. No ribbon would look good. So you do what you like. Even twine that we get a lot of in these paper pumpkin kits would look nice. That one stuck to my finger. Well, let's put one in the center for support. Take off these backings. That one is having difficulty. I guess I kind of folded it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then we're going to put this in the center of the card. Or ish in the center. Okay. And then we can put this on our thick white card base. And I do like to use the glue in the bottle so I get a little more glue so it goes down in the grooves of my embossed layer. Feel that one is larger, so it's going to go on top. You know what? I did not trim that to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So that one's just going to be a whole card front. I generally trim my embossed layers to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it looks like another layer. But I should have measured that before I put it on and we could have trimmed it down. But I like how that looks because then it would have messed up all my little layers and everything. And the only thing else I did was add a bee and some honeycomb. So I have that here in my thing. Now let me show you something. So when I cut out the honeycomb, I have one over here that we're going to use on our next card. The gold kind of stuck to my plate, and I've found out the rougher your plate is, the better it sticks, although it looks like that one moved a little bit, and that'll be okay. I'll show you how to fix those. This one, all of them worked, I believe. Let me find the honeycomb itself. Is there one missing? Let's see. Nope, they're all there. So when they're all there, I did some press and seal and pressed it on my plate to pick all of them up. Now I went ahead for speed and I put some glue dots on the back of each one of these. And we're going to put this on our card. So I was like, you know what? It's going to be a full of honey hive. You like that? All right. Now you could just manually put them in, but given some dies are not all equal, just going to put those like that. Carefully pull up my press and seal, and then we can put this honeycomb pattern over that. Now I'm just going to do it like that because our bee is going to help hold it down. Now I have some bees from the kit. I have a stamped bee. Here's one from the kit. Now when you put this on, I would put a dimensional under there. I guess I ran out of my stamped bees. So anyway, that's just a bucket of goodies that I have. And then that way he can go there. Now with that scrap that we have left is what I made a sentiment out of. So let me get out my finished one so we can move along and you can see how that turned out. I've got a glue dot showing there. I'm going to have to get my gum eraser. But this is my finished one with a scrap of this card base that I stamped the sentiment on. You can see this is the full stamp that we have, and I colored that with Lost Lagoon using a blender pen. All right, and did the same ribbon. So you can see once you finish it, it adds a lot by putting that sentiment right here and adding the honeycomb with the bee. Okay, so let me clean this up and we can get on to our next one. I'm going to take a sip because I've got a lot to say today, so I'm going to keep my throat dry, or from getting too dry. Okay, the next card. Now we're going to use an envelope, and we're going to use some of the 3 put together flowers. So again, we need a thick white card base. Let me go ahead and feel, okay, that one feels like it's top. I have an embossed layer, and this time I use the exposed brick 3D. Should be here in my little bucket. Okay, and it's 161600 exposed brick 3D. Now, when you emboss this, you can see the brick, and I like the brick coming up and the mortar going down. So just be aware of which one you do. I think if you stick it straight up, it comes out like that with the mortar oozing through is what I say. So if your paper has a direction as far as other than white, it would matter, but this isn't going to matter. Also be mindful that this is going to be a horizontal card, so you're going to want to put it in your embossing folder this way. Okay, if it was a vertical card, you'd want it going that way so your brick lays the right way. Okay, then I brought in a new product I don't think I've shared yet. This is the linked together bundle. Now these are the dies. I did just use the dies, and it has a matching stamp set, but of course I did not set it in my bucket was pretty full, so I didn't put the coordinating stamp set, but I'm just using the dies for this, and the linked together dies are 164808. So if you're interested in this and you type in that number online, it'll show you the other coordinating products. All right, so we're going to use this, and then the envelope piece. Now this is the, I think I have that one in here. It's called Pattern of Friendship. So the bundle is this big die and this stamp set, and I left it on here. It's like that gives me a little satisfaction hearing that little crunch crunch when it comes off the paper. But you can see this is part of the envelope. Now I can kind of see where the backings are back there, but I think once we get it down, they kind of disappear. And so this is the envelope bottom. Okay, once you open up an envelope, let's see if I don't have one open to show you, but you just do a sliver off the side, unfold them. Let me see if I can get out one that's not cut and show you. I've already cut two, so there's only one left in here. Here it is. Well, okay, that's what's left over. That's maybe even a better example. So you can see I cut this off right there, and I trimmed both sides so it would be equal, little scallop here, to where that finishes like 5 1/8. Okay, so we're going to adhere that on this embossed piece. I love that look. Don't you like that look? It looks much better in person. And again, this has the little dots that liquid glue could ooze through. So I'm going to grab my tape runner. Now, as I've said in the past, this is envelope paper, so it's very thin. So you might want to go slow if you're using a tape runner. And then this one's pretty good of letting go. If your double-sided tape has a hard time letting go, it could stick and pull it up. All right, that should be plenty. And get my embossed brick. And I'm going to cover up this little spot here and show more brick, although I don't think it really matters. That looks pretty straight and even. Got to keep my card in mind. Then we're going to need, from that same link together, now I'm going to get dangerous here. These aren't in my little bucket. I'm going to set them right there, and we're going to put them on. And then one of those little 3 cluster of flowers from the kit. And when you run out of envelopes, you could do this with the Cardbases as well. I do have an alternate to share, and I'll show you what all that is in a second. So here's what I did. I already die cut this with, what's that called? Double-sided tape? Adhesive sheet, that's what it's called. And I like that too. Some things just give you a little satisfaction when you open those up. All right, put this down, and with the lines of my pattern of friendship, I can kind of see if that's straight. Okay, we're going to put some lattice down, and then we're going to adhere these leaves. Now, I have something to share. My downline, she gave me this little silicone, I think it's like a basting brush, and she cut the she cut the bristles real thin. So then you can just put some glue on your silicone mat. Okay, I'm just going to go with a little. We can add more later. I just don't want it too gooey. And then I'm going to get my leaf. There it is. I'm going to dip that in there, and then I'm just going to pounce some liquid adhesive on it. We're going to put this one here. This is obviously adhesive sheets would work better. I'm going to do more glue. I got quite a few of these. Okay, and with this being a silicone brush, when the glue dries, you can just like peel it off. Isn't that neat? So if you don't have adhesive sheets, and I think I just did that on the wrong side, didn't I? Oh, what a mess. Okay, let's make sure it's the right side. I'll put that one in the middle, and he's going to get covered up with a flower. See, I make mistakes just like you could make, and that's how you can fix that, is now that one's just going to get covered up by a flower. And then it has these 2 little ones. Let's get the back side. And one more. I think I got just enough glue on the back side. Okay, and then you know your silicone sheet washes clean. Sometimes you can use just like packing tape and put it on there and it'll peel up. I just find taking it to the sink works. So let me set this aside so I don't get glue everywhere. So there is our vines on the little lattice, and then we're going to put our flowers here. But I want to put those on dimensionals, of course, because I love dimensionals, and it needs some height. This card does. Now, I don't know if it did in the directions. Like I said, I don't read the directions. I kind of just do my own thing. That's why you're watching me, because I do alternatives. I do appreciate you guys commenting and letting me know when you like these. Okay, then I'm going to show you what I do because this is so dainty and I don't want that to get caught on an envelope. I'm going to cut some of my minis in half, which I've already done over here. And I'm going to put half of a mini on the leaf end. Okay, and I don't think that shows. If it does, it's not going to be that noticeable. And half on this little dainty end, so that it helps hold that down. You know, let's do some in the center too, just because you don't want it coming that half of one stuck to my finger there, and need to cut one more. Come on up. And here. That way it's not going to get caught on anything. It should help protect it. But now we have to take all these little backings off. I hope you guys like these alternatives. I know this is using a lot of outside product, but I like to show, if you are an avid crafter like I am, how to incorporate these things with your paper pumpkin. Now, obviously, if you don't have these things, you could just do the envelope. Okay, you could do that on your card base, and then if you had the add-on dies, you could use that for greenery. It doesn't even have to have a lot of lattice. Okay, so there's our flowers. I like that it gave it some extra greenery. Now this is in Mossy Meadow, these leaves. I don't think I mentioned that. Now I still have this to work with. So like I said, I have 3 cards already. I didn't want to use that. Now let's adhere this to our thick white card base. And other than a sentiment and a bee, we are done with this one. So let me put this on here and I'll show you the finished one, because like I said, especially if I'm going to get to the paper pumpkin information, I need to move along. Well, come up. Didn't get him straight on there when I set it down, so just the wiggle room. Okay, this one has the bee. I decided not to do any honeycomb because it is on a lattice. Okay, so a sentiment would be nice here, and I have some sentiments in here from my cut file. So the sweetest birthday wishes, or you could put it over here to the side on dimensionals. I guess I can hold that up closer. Would look nice. So that is my second alternative, using some of the envelope, and finally those pretty 3 flowers together. And let's get to my third alternative. Okay, I did, I had trouble with that yellow card base, but this is something I came up with. Hopefully you like it. All right, we're going to need a thick white card base. This half of the card base that has the little yellow on it, didn't do anything to it except I cut it to 4 1/8, yes, by 5 3/8. And then I have a embossed vellum piece. Now look how that turns the vellum white. I love that look. And this, I use the dotted circles 3D. So when you're putting this in there, you can use all the different lines to help center this up. You can see I lined up the little dots there and the corner dots to get it in the center. And the dotted circle is 163789. It's another one of those large embossing folders. Okay, but isn't that nice how it gives it a little white look? I love that, with doing that with vellum. And then I also brought in my Delightful Wishes bundle for the sentiment. And I'm going to give you a tip on that. I've already stamped it and die cut that out. Also, we need a Spotlight on Nature layer and some flowers. I already have these flowers in here. There's one big one already done. Did I do two? I did do. That's where all my big ones went. Okay, so let's start putting this together. First, we want to put our flowers on our Spotlight of Nature. This is Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to use my Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. The little bottle is probably sitting right here. And I'm just going to go with this one since I know where it is. Oh, I see it. It's actually where he's supposed to be. Now I'm going to put this kind of on this inside a little bit. Okay, and then we have a second one. Looks like I colored these with the Stampin' Alcohol blends. That's what it does. It bleeds through the back a little bit. And let's see. Let's do it like that. And let's put this third one between these two up here. All right, so a nice little cluster of daisies. And then we're going to put this wishing right here. Now I'm seeing I should have done the adhesive sheet, but you know what? I'm going to get back out my silicone mat and do the glue thing again. Just needs a little bit to stick, and mainly in the center. We're going to put wishing right there. And like I said, this is from the Delightful Wishes. This is the stamp set, and it has a nice set of dies. And let me give you a tip when you're doing this Delightful, or the Wishes part. So this is the die right here. And I do recommend that you cut one out of just some junk scrap paper you may have. Where you can, I did red so I can see. That way when you go to die cut this, you can line that up, you know, on your stamp sheet, and then set this down and it'll fit. You'll kind of feel it lock in. And then I use some washi tape and tape that down before running it through my die cut machine. So like I said, that really helped me line that up pretty straight. So I'm happy with that. Now, vellum and adhesive usually shows, but since this is going to go in the center, I'm not too worried about that. And we're just going to get some tape runner, put it in the center, and adhere this down to our yellow piece. I'm watching my computer. It made a sound, and sometimes it has frozen up on me, and I really hope it doesn't do that today. Okay, so let's adhere this down with our Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. I think it gets hot, but it's up on a thing where it can breathe. Maybe it's just the fan on. Okay, put that in the center, and then we're going to put this up on dimensionals. But again, I wanted to add some ribbon. And I have some white ribbon. This was on the clearance rack. I forgot to look and see if it's still there. But if it is, it's 164205, and it's a nice little white ribbon with like a frayed edge here. And I'm going to do my same technique of putting this down. I was going to say, I lost that piece. It was stuck to me. Okay, so let's get our tear and tape. Put this on the back where we want it. My tear and tape is barely reaching. But I like that. And then tear and tape for our tails. Now, if you're good at doing the little wash, you don't have to go through this, but I'm not good at it. So I just find this easier. Okay, I can go along the path of the ribbon. And it kind of makes it look like it's all covered. Okay, so there we go. Again, it's time for dimensionals. Got this big sheet from somewhere. Probably a kit or a paper pumpkin kit, because it's bigger than the normal size. Okay, and again, I'm not taking the tape off the tear and tape because I don't want it sticking. I'm going to put one right over this ribbon where I didn't get enough tear and tape. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So in the center it goes, and this is why I like the embossing folder with this, is it kind of matches the same circle pattern. So that fits on there nicely. Now I did add another bee. This bee I added, I'm just going to show you the finished one because we're already almost 50 minutes in. So this is the gold that I showed you that I did, how I picked it up with the Glad Press and Seal. And this is the bee from our add-on dies for this quarter. And I did just put some Daffodil Delight behind his body. His wings are, there's nothing there. And previously I had yellow, but I thought, well, that's not right. I probably need to do gray granite. But I just did that. You can see my ribbon's a little tighter together, and that's okay. Any little wash will do. And then I did use a sentiment, and I actually have this, well, I have the bee and everything. Here you can see the bee better without the gold. Okay, and I will get that gold up later. Or you could use one, this is from the kit. And then this sentiment is from the Delightful Wishes. And I'm going to set it on there. And it's okay if it covers up the ing, the G. This one I tucked under and it fit fine. So this is the finished card. What do you think about the gold honeycomb? It adds a little bling to the card, and using the Delightful Wishes. Now this one you can see I used the plaid 3D embossing folder, but I really like the dotted circle. So which one of these do you like better? Now imagine the gold there, but I think you'll probably agree with me that the circle goes best with the spotlight on nature. Okay, so that is my 3 alternatives for you today. So if you are new to my channel, again, I hope you found some inspiration, and if you're not new and are subscribed, I hope you like these alternatives. Always the best compliment you can give me is a thumbs up to this video. Leave me a kind comment and share this with your other paper crafting friends. So that's the end of my alternatives. I'm now going to show you how to make sure your paper pumpkin kit is correct. So I have some screenshots, and I'm going to stay in this hands down because I added them to this scene. Actually, need to go here. Okay, so the first, I'm going to be looking at my computer. So the little corner thing, just know that I'm still with you. I'm just looking at my computer so I can turn on the right things. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have a Stampin' Up! Account. So if you have never purchased online before, or and you just had Paper Pumpkin, you're going to want to sign up for a Stampin' Up! Account. And so there's a place to log in, and if you don't have one, that it'll say create. So you'll create that. And then after you create an account, you're going to click on mine says Hi Robin. So it's going to say, hey, whatever you set up your account as. Okay. Click on that. And then, well, gee, I need to share this, don't I? Okay. Click on that, and then if you're looking at this on a phone, you're probably going to need to watch it on something larger because these screenshots are quite small. But after you go into Stampin' Up, you're going to go down to where it says subscriptions. Okay, click on subscriptions, and then you're going to get, let me change pictures again. I hope this helps. You're going to get your information. Now I have already claimed mine. You can see that it says claimed, and I'm on an existing prepaid. So if you were on a prepaid that hasn't used all of its subscriptions, this is what will show after you claim it. Now in the past I was worried. I said don't do anything until after the 11th. Because I was afraid if you didn't want April for some reason, you would get it. Well, that's not true. If you have a prepaid, or whether you're just a month to month, you're going to want to hit the button down below. I don't have my mouse working. See where it says claim from paperpumpkin.com. So all that does is bring your information as it was in Paper Pumpkin. If you were canceled, it won't bring it over. But it'll bring that over. So you're going to want to hit that claim from paperpumpkin.com. Now you may be asking, why do I need to claim? Well, you need to claim it because if you have not, right now the stampinup.com doesn't think you have a Paper Pumpkin subscription. However, once you claim it, it will let you purchase refills, the add-on dies. It'll also help you manage your account, whether your payment needs updated or whether you want to skip or for some reason cancel. So you can't make those changes until you claim it. So make it easier on yourself and do this now. So hit that claim, and what that's going to do is it's going to send you an email. And it may take a few minutes to get that email. And of course, it's going to confirm, it's going to have you enter in the email of which you had your paperpumpkin.com account in. Okay, once you get your email, you're going to look for something. Well, shows you what your email will look like. Is that right? I try to do all these screenshots to help out. Okay, in your email, there should be an email that looks something like I just put on the screen there. So all you need to do is that black box that says claim subscription, click on that, and it should take you right back into Stampin' Up! To your accounts thing. So as I said, you're back to, make sure that's right, back to your account. Oh, cancel. There we go. Okay, it should take you back to here, and then you should be able to see your claimed. If you're month to month, it'll probably show your payment information there. And the only time you have to get that month's kit is when you do that new subscription. See, it's at the top. If you're on a computer, this could be in the upper right hand corner. It's in red. So add subscription, that means you're adding a new one. Okay, you will pay right away for that. So that's why you can't skip that month, because whenever you do either a prepaid or just do one kit, and you also gift from there, that's a whole nother story. And if you have questions about that, contact your demonstrator. That is the only time you have to get that month's subscription, because you will pay right away. Now, some of you may or may not know, but our rewards program is changing, and it has some positives to it, so I'm going to share those positives. The positive is once, I think it starts when the new catalog goes live, you will get your own hostess rewards when your merchandise total is $20 or more. So those will go straight to your account to use on a future purchase. And you can also bank those for up to a year. So say you wanted a larger price item, you can collect those as you place smaller orders until you have more in your account. They do expire after, I believe, a rolling 12 months. So don't let those expire on you. Right now, Paper Pumpkin is considered $18.50 for merchandise, and the rest is considered shipping. So right now, unfortunately, we won't get rewards on that. But if you want rewards, go ahead and do it prepaid. There's no longer savings with it, but the savings you get is you would get rewards. So whether you did 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, they're all $25 per month. And you would receive rewards on that purchase. So that's one reason to do the prepaid. You don't have to worry about shipping anymore. That is the price, $25 per kit, whether it's month to month or with subscriptions. So I hope that helps you understand that. And like I said, be sure and check your thing. You can see that in small print somewhere, mine says right there, I can't read it. Next kit to ship, April. So you can always check your status of what is there. So I know some of my customers had some questions, so I hope these screenshots help. If you are a customer of mine and you still have questions, reach out to me and I'll do my very best to help you before the 10th so that you can expect the kit that you're expecting. So let me switch back to me. So I hope those screenshots helped and me explain the best I can over a video. Like I said, it's very easy. Just get in your system and work through those steps that I shared and make sure you have claimed your previous. All you're doing is, like I said, you're claiming your legacy Paper Pumpkin account to stampinup.com, and it should be as it was. So I know this was a long video. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Again, there'll be a link if you're interested in my previous alternatives, and a link to where you can subscribe, and also a link to my 24/7 online shop for stampinup.com. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Until my next video, have a great day. Bye-bye.